Group Pet+Space+Divine Doctor+Dirty God Blessing Star Dual Enchantment, Ill and Delicious Killer crosses through to become a farmhouse disaster star baby. Just born, her father is gone, and her father is gone the next year. Zhang Jiaxi traveled here for exactly 3 years. 3 days later, she looked at the old man in the coffin who wanted to drown her but ended up taking the consequences. As soon as a person lies down, a cloth covers them, and the whole village, young and old, waits for the dishes to be served. As soon as the coffin is lifted and the earth is buried, the world will never come again. But life still has to go by. Xiaoxi looks at the poor and dilapidated courtyard children who rain and flood, and the sunny and leaky days. Then she looks at the hungry and crooked Xiaodouting and the sick and unable to get up mother. Don't panic, she has medical skills and even brings her own food. With medical skills and space, the days are thriving. I saved someone casually, but there was an extra unjust master who ate, drank, and vowed to lead her on the right path. Zhang Jiaxi. This cheap master is not only annoying, but also always trying to teach her how to be a good person. The righteous teacher encountered a ruthless little devil, one desperately sending and the other desperately rescuing. Divine level auxiliary senior brother. The master said that the junior sister is very angry, as long as she doesn't involve human life or other matters, try to follow her as much as possible. So, someone secretly apprenticed to cheap master and became a mortal enemy, repeatedly jumping between the righteous teacher and the strongest villain. Master de Yuan Zhong. It takes energy to raise a senior disciple, but it's useless to raise a junior disciple. Keywords of the novel. Group Pet Fuwa. Little milk bag she is both milk and ferocious without pop-ups, Group Pet Fuwa. Little milk bag she is both milk and ferocious. Download the complete text. Group Pet Fuwa. Little milk bag she is both milk and ferocious. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Is open. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 is open. The feeling of drowning and suffocation struck, and Xiaoxi, who was in a daze, instantly regained consciousness. What is the situation? Did she not die? Why are you being held in the water now? Also, who is the person who grabbed her waist and pressed her head into the water? She wanted to struggle away, but after a few quick thrusts, she found herself powerless. A series of bubbles appeared on the water's surface as she struggled. I wanted to grab her hands and fight back, but found that I couldn't exert any force at all, and the person who grabbed her hair and pushed her into the water clearly wanted to drown her alive. Isn't it? Isn't it? What is the situation? Is she not dead yet? So I'm going to drown again. Please, at least give her 2 missiles. In any case, she will have to be bombed to the point where her flesh and blood are completely gone, or her body will be vaporized directly to deserve her unique identity and status in the world of assassins. You Broom Star. Since you were born, the Zhang family has been dying one after another. You little scumbag should have died a long time ago. Today, I will drown you Broom Star to pay tribute to your father and grandfather. An extremely resentful voice came from above, and Xiaoxi tried hard to break off those hands. Her voice is very unfamiliar. When did she commit such a number 1 crime? Without waiting for her to recall, the river in her throat had already flooded, leaving her with only the instinct to struggle for survival. The more she drank from the river, the cooler her heart became. Did she really die like this? Just as she grew even more desperate, an urgent and mournful scream rang in her ear. Mom, what are you doing? Lu's basket fell to the ground and ran down the riverbank to snatch the child from the old man's hand. When Zhang saw Lu come down, she pretended to throw the girl into the river. Lu quickly slid down the slope, and before she could even stand firm, she grabbed the girl that the old man was about to throw out and held her in her arms. Mom, what are you doing? If it weren't for you, the loser, giving birth to such a loser, how could our family have had such a big misfortune? Today, I have her but not her, she has her but not me. After being rescued, Xiaoxi's face was covered in water stains, and her hair was wet against her face, coughing incessantly. Before she could cough up all the water she choked on, the old woman cursed viciously and grabbed her arm, desperately pulling and trying to snatch the person from Lu's arms. "Whatever I say today, I will drown this little troublemaker. You scumbag, wait for me to drown her, and there will be good fruit to eat when I go back." Lu's face was sorrowful as she held the wet child and begged earnestly, "Mother, let her go. What's wrong with her as a child? Please be kind and save your child's life. I beg you. Give her a life. Who gave me a life as a member of the Zhang family? I killed my father and grandfather from birth, and she won't be able to tell who she will be after a few more years. Today, I'll just leave it here. With me, without her. With her, without me." Zhang's face was filled with resentment as she gritted her teeth and gritted her teeth. Her withered hand made Xiaoxi's arm turn red, while the other hand wanted to pinch her neck. Reluctantly reacting, Xiaoxi dodged the old hand on the withered branch, and the next second the hand landed on her arm. "Xiaoxi, take a look at the arm that has been pulled out and feels sore." The old man's stained nails were almost ingrained in the flesh of her arm, and the two of them were tugging at each other like a tug of war. Either someone behind her grabbed her arm with the other hand. It was estimated that her arm had already been torn off by the old woman in front of her. Lu held her waist and placed her other hand on the arm that Zhang had grabbed, but she refused to let go. She was afraid of breaking her arm and letting go, as she was afraid of being thrown into the river by the old man. And it was determined that the reason why the Zhang family became like this was all due to the birth of Xiaoxi, and Zhang insisted on taking Xiaoxi away and drowning him. Xiaoxi glanced at the old woman in front of her, then at the stones under her feet and the turbulent river behind her. Suddenly, his body leaned forward without any warning, and he skillfully pulled out his arm while the old man was relaxed. Zhang still didn't understand why the arm she was pulling suddenly slipped out. The next second, without any resistance, she and Lu both stared back and leaned back. Before plunging into the river, Zhang saw the devilish and evil smile on the girl's face. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Self-eating evil results. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Self-eating evil results. Sure enough, this disaster star is not stupid at all, not only not stupid, but also a devil. But she could no longer speak, nor could she reveal the story of this little devil to the public. She wanted to say a lot, but a scream followed by a plop sound of falling into the water. As soon as she opened her mouth, river water poured into her mouth. No matter how much she wanted to say, it turned into words on her lips. Gudu. Help. 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 Life. Help. Life. Zhang's hands kept splashing on the water and shouting loudly. Lu was restless as she hugged Xiaoxi and fell to the shore, feeling a painful drop in her buttocks. She turned her head to look at Zhang, who had been washed out of the river several meters away in the blink of an eye, but still had lingering palpitations. Help. Life. Help. Gulyalu. Zhang's voice seemed to weaken as the water filled her further away. Lu carried Xiaoxi ashore and placed him on the shore, quickly following her to chase Zhang. Once, she wished so much for Zhang to die, but now it's really a life and death crisis, and this person is still her mother. In law after all. Lu picked up a long willow branch and ran down the riverbank in the direction where Zhang was washed away by the flowing water. Mom, hold the stick, you hold the stick, I'll pull you up. Lu lowered the willow branch, and Zhang tried to catch the life-saving willow branch, but the river was turbulent and rushed out far away in the blink of an eye, giving Zhang no chance. Seeing Zhang being swept away again, Lu chased after the river with a stick and wanted to run in front of Zhang to pass the stick over. Xiaoxi frowned slightly as she watched the muddy footprints under Lu's feet getting deeper and deeper. It should be late spring and early summer, during the season when the river was rising. In addition, the river here was extremely steep and deep. Once she fell into the water, it was difficult to climb up. Even if she wanted to save her, she was powerless. As Lu continued to chase Zhang along the riverbank, the area ahead was overgrown with weeds. The more grass there was, the softer the mud became. Looking at her wet little body again, she almost understood the current situation. She came back to life and became the child of the woman in front of her. She doesn't care about the life or death of the old woman who caused her trouble, but this cheap woman treats her well. Mom Sheer is afraid. Xiaoxi suddenly spoke crisply and went down the riverbank to pursue Lu Shi. Lu, who wanted to continue chasing Zhang, was taken aback. She wondered how her daughter could suddenly speak, but when she turned her head, she saw Xiaoxi stumbling down the riverbank. Sierra! Lu Shi exclaimed in surprise. Don't move. Sheer, don't move. Don't come down anymore. You stand still and don't move anymore. Lu shouted anxiously, overcoming the strange feeling in her heart with fear. Fenghua. Help. Help me. Zhang pounced and desperately called for help with all her strength. Mother Sheer is afraid. Xiaoxi spoke crisply, as if she hadn't heard Lu's shout, continuing down, like a real 3-year-old child who didn't know what the danger was. Sheer, please don't move, don't move. Mom, please, don't move. Lu quickly cried and took 2 steps towards Xiaoxi, but then turned to look at Zhang, who was being washed away by the river, hesitating. Mother Xiaoxi saw that Lu was still hesitating and shouted again. She stumbled and slipped, increasing her chips. A biological daughter, a wicked mother. Law, why hesitate? Sierra. Seeing Xiaoxi stumble, Lu's cautious liver jumped out of fear. The child's balance was not good, and the riverbank was so steep that if he really fell, he would be dead. Why did she hesitate when she had a wicked mother. Law on one side and a daughter on the other? End of this chapter. Chapter 3. 3 years of sending off 3 people. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. 3 years of sending off 3 people. Sheer, don't move, wait for your mother there, don't move. Lu Shi threw down the willow branches and ran towards Xiaoxi in the mud, afraid that if she slowed down a bit, her daughter would be in trouble. Sheer, don't move, stand still. Mom, Xiaoxi ran over happily like Lu Shi, slipping and falling onto the riverbank. Fortunately, there was resistance along the riverbank, so she didn't fall into the river. On the contrary, Lu Shi was so scared that she crawled and rushed towards her. After seeing that the person was fine, he quickly carried Xiaoxi to the shore, and as he watched the struggling old man in the distance, he gradually drifted away. At this point, Zhang's family had already been washed away by the river, leaving only a shadow in the distance. Someone. Hurry up. Is there anyone there? My mother fell into the water. Hurry up. Help. My mother fell into the water. 3 days later, Zhang's body was salvaged, and his whole body swelled, forming a corrupt view of giants. The Zhang family was poor, and the coffins they bought were also small. Coupled with the swelling of Zhang's body, the small coffin struggled to fit her body. Many people who came to help were mocking, saying that even the Zhang family would choose a time for death, choosing the same year, month, and day. Now, it's time for a reburial. We actually attach great importance to reburials here, but the Zhang family is penniless. If we were to separate, we might have to eat up the Zhang family's food for 3 to 5 years and possibly owe a lot of external debts. Xiaoxi also understood after listening to the gossip of those people. It turned out that the father of this body died when it was 1 year and 100 days old, and the grandfather of this body also died after 2 years old and 100 days old. The grandmother of this body, who had previously caused her to suffer from self-harm, died exactly 100 days after her 3rd birthday. Xiaoxi. The time she chose was really good. Even if she has a mouth now, she can't say it clearly. The Zhang family had been preparing for the sacrifice of the Zhang family men and the Zhang family patriarch for a while, but now that Zhang's wife is gone, the family of three has gathered a table underground. Lu also wanted to separate the lives of the three of them, but considering her own food supply, if this were to be separated, why not eat her family? As a last resort, Mrs. Zhang's burial date was also chosen as the same day for reburial. Before dawn, Zhang Jiaxi and his 6 brothers, who had not yet woken up, were called up to guard the spirits. According to the rules here, women and children are not allowed to go to the funeral hall, but now there are still so many things that can be managed there, and there is no way to manage them. After being sold to the Zhang family, the Lu family broke off ties with them, and Zhang only had one son. Naturally, the Lu family had no uncle or sister-in-law to support them, and could only handle all affairs alone. As there was no one at home, they had to bring their own children over to support the family. Zhang Jiaxi and 6 older brothers were squatting in the main hall, wearing white clothes and holding mourning sticks. The funeral was held twice 2 years before, and the brothers were familiar with the process. However, only the 10-year-old boss showed sadness in his eyes, while Xiaoxi looked expressionless and perfunctory. The other 5 little ones were happily whispering about how much delicious Zhang Pozi would eat after she was buried. Lao Lu's drool flowed as he said there must be glutinous rice root. Lao Wu wanted to eat pork belly more. Lao Si and Lao San had the same taste. The 2 of them wanted to eat chicken, and the old hen that laid eggs at home had been envious for a long time. The second person, who was extremely speechless, looked at the village people standing outside the funeral hall and scolded them softly, "Can you put on a disguise? Grandma hasn't been buried yet, are all the neighbors watching us?" Although my grandmother mistreated them in every way before she passed away, now that everyone is dead and so many people in the village are watching, these guys are actually discussing what's delicious in the funeral hall, especially Lao Lu, whose saliva is almost dripping. Is it embarrassing to throw them away? End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Filial's son playing bowl, Western introduction. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Filial's son playing bowl, Western introduction. It's better to be dead. After death, no one will whip me anymore. The skinny paper man muttered angrily in a low voice, his black and thin body wearing patched clothes passed down from the boss. The clothes were small and could only cover half of them, and his exposed arms and legs were covered in bruises of varying sizes. Among the 7 children in the Zhang family, he is the 6th oldest. Among the few brothers, except for Xiaoxi, he is the youngest, the most mischievous, the most hard-working, and the most beaten. Zhang Pozi died, and Lao Lu was the happiest one. In fact, at his age, he didn't know what death meant. He only knew that Zhang Pozi had died, and no one would secretly beat him behind his mother's back in the future. As long as he thought that no one would whip them again in the future, Lao Lu was so happy that he wished he could hold a party at Zhang Pozi's Lingtang. Whoever is good to him, who is good to him, his worldview is so simple. An old man who beats his siblings and mothers to death every day still hopes he will be sad when he dies. It would be great if he didn't go to Zhang Pozi's grave to dance and celebrate. The boss with slightly swollen eyes looked at Lao Lu, and although he didn't say anything, the effect was much better than Lao Er's. When Lao Lu saw the boss looking at him, he was so scared that he let out his breath. He muttered softly twice, but no one could hear him clearly. A few little guys saw that Lao Lu had calmed down, and they all lowered their heads, holding mourning sticks and pretending to wipe their tears. The boss looked at him like this and whispered a lesson: the villagers used to bully the useless men in our family. Are you so happy in Grandma's Lingtang now? Do you want to be the laughing stock of those people after tea and dinner? No matter how Grandma treated you before, you can't do anything less now, you know. Got it, the 5 little puddings whispered in unison. Upon hearing this, Xiaoxi raised her eyebrows slightly and glanced at the eldest boy a few more times. When the boss's gaze fell on Xiaoxi, his harshness turned into gentleness and indulgence. He was afraid that the previous harshness would scare his foolish and speechless sister, so he whispered, "Sister, be good, squat here for a while. When Grandma is buried, you can come back to eat. No one will beat us again in the future." A few little doubting watched as the boss coaxed Jiaxi, and all of them turned their attention to Jiaxi, one by one, gentle as if they were about to drip water. Ah! Their sister is so cute. How could there be such a lovely sister in this world? Xiao Shi, who was stared at by 6 little puddings with his hair on end, said, The crazy gaze of these beloved girls at her is really terrifying. Especially when these little puddings were all wearing borrowed morning clothes and holding morning sticks, it felt even more eerie. This is a spiritual hall. At this moment, Lu Shi and several men from the village walked over from outside, and the 6 little doubting who were out of place with the Lingtang immediately showed a very sad expression, crying and wiping their tears, calling out to their grandmother. Lu waved to the boss to signal him to come out. The eldest male member of the Zhang family is Zhang Jiaxi, who has just turned 10 years old. According to local customs, the person who throws a basin must be a male member, and only when there is no male member can the female relatives be obtained. Therefore, this incident of throwing a basin falls on Zhang Jiaxi. Mother. You can do whatever others ask you to do later, Lu instructed her eldest son. Mom, don't worry, I know how to do it. Lu nodded slightly and breathed a sigh of relief in her heart. She married into the Zhang family and gave birth to 1 child a year. She has always had 7 children, and among all these children, only her eldest son is the most stable and reassuring. The boss was led by a man from the village to the steps and received a rough large bowl made of pottery. The MC was a middle-aged man from the village, who shouted loudly with the man, "Filial son, play the bowl, Western Guide." End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Tiansha Lonely Star. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 6. Disaster Stars. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 6. Disaster Stars. The symbolism, like this nickname, signifies that all her loved ones around her will die. Because when she was just over 100 days old, her father died, and everyone said she was unlucky. The next year, on the same day, her grandfather also passed away. Now, the unlucky name has been confirmed. In the 3rd year of this year, on the same day, Mrs. Zhang also fell into the water. Now, the hat of the disaster star can no longer be taken off. Many of the people who came to Zhang's funeral to help, as long as Lu was not around, would point and talk to her. The information she wants to know is already quite similar from these gossiping neighbors. 90% of the people in the village believe that she is a disaster star, and many who have a good relationship with the Lu family advise her to throw her away so that the next person to die is Lu herself. And Lu had a falling out with several women who had good relationships over this matter. Thinking of this, Xiao Shi's eyebrows and eyes curved slightly. Zhang Jiaxi is very unfortunate. She was labeled as a criminal from birth, and was criticized by many people for being a disaster star, a troublemaker, and a loser. She was believed to have been born wrong, and everyone in the village believed that she was born to be a debt collector, which was bound to drain all the luck of the Zhang family and cause harm to all of them. But she was also lucky. No matter how outsiders slandered her, Lu Shi and a few little doubting still treated her like pearls and treasures. How fortunate she was to have met such a family in this life. Lu held Xiao Shi and scanned the crowd, finding a middle-aged woman with good relationships. She was the eldest grandmother of the Zhang family, one of the few righteous people in this village. Lu walked over holding Xiao Shi and shouted to the middle-aged woman chatting with others, "Grandma Zhang." "Hey, Lu, what's wrong?" "Grandma Zhang, I just wanted to trouble you with something. My mother-in-law's funeral is going on today, and I have a lot of things to attend to. Sheer is also a bit silly. It's not convenient to take her with me, and I don't trust leaving her alone. Can you help me take care of my child for a while? Lu pleaded. After 3 years of family visits, many people find it unlucky and don't want to hang out with her family. She is also worried that Grandma Zhang will refuse her request. Okay, I'll help you keep an eye on the child. You go ahead and help yourself. If you need any help, come and call me. Grandma Zhang picked up Xiaoxi, who was all neighbors. If you could help, just give him a hand. I would greatly appreciate it if you could take care of Sierra for me. I and a few sons can handle other matters, Grandma Zhang. So, I'll go ahead and help out first. Lu quickly thanked and left, and Grandma Zhang waved her hand. The child was with her, so feel at ease. Seeing the Lu family running away, Grandma Zhang sighed and shook her head. This Lu family is also a hard-working girl. When Lu got married, she was very agile. Looking back now, her bony body collapsed when the wind blew, her skin and bones were so thin. She had to go out to work and pick up firewood before dawn every day. Grandma Zhang just let out a sigh, and the women on the table were chattering like they were opening a conversation box, shifting from other topics to this one. Just take a look at what days she has been married to. No, my father.in.law is in a bad mood and takes it out on her. My mother.in.law is also in a bad mood and takes it out on her. This man is in a bad mood and even takes it out on him. Look at the swelling on her body, there's no good meat in those bruises. Hey, don't mention it, it's not just her. Look at the child from the Zhang family, there's no injury on her body. From childhood to adulthood, they all come this way. This is because there are many children who are burned. If only one is born, who would be willing to fight? This is also why the Lu family can give birth, giving birth once a year. The male is not valuable in his family, and the bruises on a few dolls' bodies will not disappear. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Gave birth to a debt collector. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Gave birth to a debt collector. You said such a good girl, why are you interested in such a family? It's not that Lu's mother is greedy for money. It said that Lu was sold by her mother for 4 taels of silver. What about 4 taels of silver? Who is worth 4 taels of silver here? Oh, I've heard of what you're talking about. I heard that the son of the Zhang family didn't even date many girls in the first place. In the end, when Mrs. Zhang went out to go to the market, she saw this girl from the Lu family and asked someone to inquire about her. I heard that she had returned a lot of money. Later, when I found out about the Lu family, she only gave 2 taels of silver for engagement and 4 taels of silver for the dowry, which was a full 4 taels of white money. 10 years ago, 4 taels of silver were worth a lot of old money. The woman extended 4 dark and rough fingers, which made everyone envious. 4 taels of silver, everyone here is half a pound of pork and a few pounds of rice to marry back. Not to mention 4 taels of silver, the betrothal gift adds up to less than 1 or 2. If there is that ugly girl or someone who is lame, the betrothal gift can be taken out of a steamed bun frame, and maybe all of it is borrowed. We need to work together after marriage to repay it. 4 taels of silver, in this remote and impoverished village, are all the dowry for village chiefs and small county heads to marry their wives. Oh, people are so popular that they are even more popular. 4 taels of silver, I can't even think of it. When my father married me, he cut half a pound of meat and took a few steamed buns. Do you still want others to spend 4 taels of silver just because you look like this? Don't you even look at their Lu family? They look like they have red lips and white teeth. Before marrying, they were pretty girls from 8 villages and 10 miles away. Why do you compare them to them? No, look at these little ones. Apart from being a bit thin and having dark spots, which one isn't as good looking as others? They all have thick eyebrows and big eyes. Look at their daughters, don't be fools, but if they have good parents, they are fools and can sell for a good price when they grow up. That person looked at Xiaoxi greedily. Why can't their daughter look so beautiful? No, look at what Xiaoxi gave birth to. It looks so beautiful and watery. Someone praised by the crowd. Can you stop gossiping about me? Several daughter.in.law continue to envy Lu's good looks and the ability to sell for a good price. If they were so good-looking, they would have married the village chief's family as concubines and enjoyed their happiness long ago. There is a sarcastic tone that sounds unpleasant to others when they praise Lu Shi. A person is not cowardly in appearance, but unfortunately her life is thinner than paper. Look at the days when she got married, did she live the same life as a person? I remember clearly that in the middle of winter, the cold debris in the river was 1 foot thick. That hard-working woman named Lu had to smash the ice and wash her daughter's diaper while she was still in confinement. Now, it's okay. She's too cold to give birth, but it doesn't matter whether she can give birth or not. Anyway, her husband is gone and she has some illnesses. Once the root of the illness is burned in confinement, she will suffer when she gets old. The other woman nodded repeatedly, and some people agreed with a strange tone, no, it's useless to look good. It depends on whether you get married or have a good child. This is like giving birth to a debt collector like Xiaoxi. This family may go to the Yan Wang Palace to reunite in less than 2 years. After the woman finished speaking, a few people who agreed joined in mocking her. Grandma Zhang frowned and angrily said to Xiaoxi, "Motherly, what kind of nonsense are you talking about?" "Oh, Grandma Zhang, don't be angry. I'm just joking, why are you still angry?" End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Pollution Protection Body. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 8 Pollution Protection Body. That's right, this Xiaoxi is not your granddaughter, and she still has bad luck on her body. You are not afraid to provoke bad luck by protecting her so much, are you? Xiaoxi, why is your life so hard? Ah! Look at you, you've only been born 3 years ago, and you've sent away 3 people. If it's next year, will your family be gathering a table underground? The woman continued to mock and even reached out her dark and oily hand to pinch Xiaoxi's face fiercely. Xiaoxi was angry and reached out to strike the woman's paw, but unfortunately, he couldn't control his body. He didn't lift his hand and instead slapped the table. Xiaoxi is angry, and at this moment, her uncontrollable behavior is breaking through her body. What a damn thing! The woman was startled by Xiaoxi's fierce expression, and when she reacted, she pinched even harder. Grandma Zhang slapped the woman's dirty hands and angrily said, "They are all from the same village. I advise you to accumulate some oral virtues and not wait for retribution when you get old." Oh my, Granny Zhang, this little disaster star is also a threat to her family. Look at these 3 years, aren't all those who died from the Zhang family? Granny Zhang, I advise you to stay away from her family to avoid being targeted. The woman's sharp and sarcastic lips were all evident, and her words were prickly. Xiaoxi took the small handkerchief from Grandma Zhang's hand, dipped it in water, and elegantly wiped the area that had just been pinched by the woman. His mouth was like a blessing or a curse, and he muttered, "I have accumulated blessings for generations. This life has its own filthy energy to protect my body, and good luck accompanies me. Those who love and protect me will only be blessed by my good fortune throughout their lives. Only those who maliciously harm me will be hurt by filthy energy, and bad luck will carry with them. Everything will not go smoothly." The clear and organized words immediately intimidated the several old women on the table. Her voice was not loud, but it was enough to be heard by the surrounding tables. So, the people around the tables who heard these words also turned their heads and looked over. Isn't the daughter of the Zhang family foolish and speechless? Now suddenly speaking, and speaking so clearly and smoothly, coupled with her elegant movements and temperament, everyone felt that what she said was like an oracle. Xiaoxi breathed a slight sigh of relief. Fortunately, his mouth was obedient and his speech didn't tie a knot. If he said it halfway, the momentum it could create would collapse. As for the interdependence of blessings and misfortunes, and the possession of blessings and filth, since she can say it, she must be able to do it. Blessings and filth cannot be touched, but human-made blessings and misfortunes are not easy to deal with. The next second, a mountain forest suddenly appeared in her mind, with mountains, water, fruit trees, various medicinal crops, cattle and sheep scattered throughout the mountains, and wild rabbits flooding. Xiaoxi was taken aback for a moment. Isn't this a paradise that she bought for the first time while completing a mission in such a familiar place? Did she miss her too much? So substantive images have appeared in my mind. Amidst the green mountains and clear waters, a giant python shuttled through it. The python was as thick as an adult man's thigh, which she later set her sights on when she went out on a mission. She had someone transport it back to prepare to retrieve the snake's gallbladder, but it ran away and never found. The woman who had just mocked Lu and Xiaoxi sneered disdainfully and said, "You say you are a lucky star, you are a lucky star. I also said you are a broom star. Look at the Zhang family. Since you were born, they have not heard of major disasters and minor disasters, and have become more and more difficult. One person dies this year, and when they come back next year, they can all gather at an underground table." End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Fortunate Fortune. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Fortunate Fortune. Grandma Zhang couldn't bear to listen and angrily slapped the table. "Can your mouth still calm down a bit?" Xiaoxi also snapped out of the strange scene in his mind and turned to look at the woman with a malicious expression on her face. "I really want to hang that giant python in the woods around the neck of this long-tongued woman, and let them compare whose tongue is longer." However, such thoughts flashed through her mind just now, and the next second, a huge python appeared out of thin air and slammed onto the woman's neck. Xiaoxi was stunned. Did his idea come true? However, the few women who had just mocked Xiaoxi and talked nonsense with the women were also stunned for a moment. After seeing what was hanging around the woman's neck with a broken mouth, her face instantly turned pale. The woman with a broken mouth also wondered what was hanging around her neck, feeling slippery and cool. The people who looked over from the back tables were all scared out of their wits and screams were heard everywhere. "Snake! Snake, ah! Ah ah ah! Help! Someone here! Help! Snake! 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 Ah ah!" The people on the table around were scared and ran around. Grandma Zhang reacted and quickly ran away with Xiaoxi in her arms. The woman on the table, who had reacted, also ran away in a hurry, and her legs were so weak that she couldn't even crawl. She fell on the ground and didn't dare to move. The woman with a broken mouth was scared to pee when she saw the raised snake head. Ah ah ah! A pig-like scream, more mournful than anyone else, echoed through the sky as the python opened its mouth and bit the woman. The woman used all her strength to smash the snake's head open, trying to run away, but the snake's tail rolled up and directly grabbed the woman's neck. The woman fell to the ground from the bench, her face instantly turning red and her eyes bulging. She grabbed her neck with both hands, trying to pry the snake away. The people around me who had reacted shouted out loud, "What are you all standing there for? Help someone!" Everyone reacted and clattered around, thinking about what was around them. With sticks, shovels, and benches, they grabbed what was meant and rushed up together. The snake's tail rolled the person around one after another, and the woman's eyes were about to pop out of her eyes. Her entire face turned purple-black, and she was about to die. The people around her were using tools to bang bang bang, all at the snake's body, whether it was a shovel or a machete, chopping wildly. If the python is attacked and the woman is released, she will slip out. But everyone dares to let this python run out. With such a big snake, if it runs out, it will have to guard against being eaten in the middle of the night. A team of men and women, dozens of people, gathered around the giant python, hammered and stabbed each other, and soon chopped off the snake's head. The snake's head fell off, making it much easier to deal with the snake's tail. The snake's head was covered in a basket, and the tail rolled up everywhere. Everyone dared not let down their guard. With such a large tail, if rolled up, it would surely kill a person. However, dozens of people worked together and quickly chopped the snake tail into sections. Xiaoxi looked at the dead python, which could no longer die, and felt heartbroken. She had spent a lot of energy on this thing before, but now it has been directly chopped into pieces by someone. The woman who had just been curled up by the snake's tail was still angry. She fainted, not sure if she had been strangled to death or frightened. The woman's husband and son held the woman home together, and before leaving, they even took a sip of foam and cursed at the woman, saying that she was useless. She had already handed over the gift money. At this point, she fainted and couldn't even eat the banquet, wasting the gift money. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. The 5 Immortals of the Earth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. The 5 Immortals of the Earth. When Lu came out of the greenhouse, the snakes on the ground were cut into many pieces, and Chef Xie followed out. When he saw the wriggling meat on the ground, he asked Lu how to deal with it. The people here believe in the 5 Immortals of the Earth, and the snake is the Lu Immortal among the 5 Immortals. Some people who worship the Lu Immortal would rather starve to death than eat snake meat, believing that the snake has spiritual energy and can transform into a human form. They are also skilled in the magic of capturing objects from thousands of miles. A group of people with hoes and machetes gathered in a circle, waiting for the Lu family to speak. According to the rules here, whoever finds something in their house will belong to it. Big girl, what do you say about dealing with this snake? Someone asked Lu Shi, and she looked at the wriggling snake and the struggling snake head on the ground. She felt goosebumps all over her body and fell to the ground. What she was most afraid of was this kind of thing. Looking at the greediness in the eyes of the people around her, she wished she could swallow the meat on the ground, including the belt bones. She was afraid that she had just taken out the meat and was soon found to be stewed. Instead of doing this, it would be better to follow the flow and make a gesture of goodwill. Even if my poor family's dilapidated thatched cottage is heavy on the day of burial, is it still taboo to eat a snake? Brother Xie, everyone deserves credit for catching this snake. How about you please put in more effort, Brother Xie, to make this snake into a dish and add some oil and water to the big guy. People can't survive anymore, who cares about this taboo? That's a good relationship. Everyone come and help, get this thing here. Chef Xie ordered people to move the snake meat from the ground to a location in the kitchen, and the man also had to go to some brave women to get started. In no time, he moved all the snake meat in. With those envious eyes looking at the snake meat that had piled up several cylinders but couldn't come down, why didn't such a big snake appear in their own homes? This big snake, with so much meat, if it were to be sold at the market, it would definitely sell for quite a few taels of silver. After finishing the snake meat, everyone went to the south riverbank to wash their hands. The Zhang family was in a good position, and there was a river outside the outer wall, so there was no need to go out to fetch water to drink. After cleaning themselves, they returned to their respective positions, and everyone talked about the large snake that fell from the sky. Some people say that the Lu family dares to eat even the Lu Immortals in the 5 Immortals of the Earth, and they will definitely face retribution in the future. Some people disdain it and wait for these people who speak in awe of Lu Xian to slap them in the face. If you say you're in awe and don't eat, when the meat comes to the table, the plate will definitely be licked cleaner than a dog bowl. Some people also remember what Xiaoxi said earlier, dirty energy protects the body, and good luck accompanies. Many people whispered and suspected that Zhang Jiaxi was a demon, because the python just now inexplicably descended from the sky, especially the woman at Zhang's grandmother's table. There was fear and disgust in Xiaoxi's eyes, and some wanted to touch her luck. Just now that woman was speaking ill of Xiaoxi, the giant python suddenly came out. Think about the 3 people who died in the Zhang family for 3 years, isn't everyone trying to kill Zhang Jiaxi? The man from the Zhang family despised his daughter as a loser and wanted to strangle her, but he died. The old man from the Zhang family believed that Zhang Jiaxi had killed his son and stuffed her into a wheat straw pile, hoping to cover her alive. However, Zhang Jiaxi did not die. When the old man turned around and left, he stepped on the plow used for digging the ground and cut off his head. This old woman, Zhang, was even more so. She carried Xiaoxi to the riverbank, and many people who were plowing over there heard the cries of the Lu family. The malicious woman designated it as trying to drown Zhang Jiaxi, but ended up drowning herself. End of this chapter.